big lump in your throat as you got up to speak to new people. That's how Abdul felt when he stood up for his first meeting. RadioActive's Abdul Muhsin Hameed writes about public speaking programs and their effect on teenagers.
I was 8 years old when I noticed the lump. It came whenever I tried to speak, but I gradually gained confidence and was able to make an impact with just my voice. Best of all, I overcame the lump. This was because of the Toastmasters Gavel Club program. It's a club where you practice public speaking. I really wanted to get over the lump, so my parents signed me and my siblings up for the program. My parents weren't alone. Many others also wanted their kids to have this experience for a variety of reasons.
Some of them brought us children that were very shy or suffered from social anxiety, and they wanted us to help their child in a safe environment overcome those limitations and fears.
That's David Reed, one of the founders of the Toastmasters Club. He's a very descriptive speaker, something I look up to. David has 3 children with autism. One of them was a part of a writing contest and had to read her work in front of an audience. She was so worried about reading out loud that she didn't even want to attend. She was one of the main reasons why he and his wife, Sonya, started the program.
That first day, there were tears. My daughter was among them. Because it was one of those things that is unexpected, it's unknown, and as I said earlier, we have 3 children with autism, and so all 3 of our children were in the room, and they were not happy about being thrust into this experience. However, by the end of the 2 years that we ran the Gavel Clubs before we handed the baton off to other people when we left Seattle, my kids learned to love the stage and spent a lot of time, and my daughter now still enjoys speaking to a meeting. She likes being in charge.
I myself was 8 years old when I took charge of getting rid of that lump in my throat. I pushed to join the Toastmasters program even though I was below the age requirement. More than 7 years later, I feel like I can talk freely with confidence.
Because you can take kids at age 12 and prepare them to be professional speakers. By the time they get to college, they will have the ability to speak extemporaneously, engage in service-oriented leadership, and speak publicly with a plan and with impact.
The safe space that David and Sonya created for all youth helps give them confidence as they get older. Without this program, I don't think I would have been able to join KUOW's RadioActive Youth Media program. For RadioActive, this is Abdul Muhsin Hameed.
Eyva Winet is a high school principal in Seattle, helping amplify youth voices any way they can. Their parents were teachers in rural areas and taught Eyva to stand up for what they thought was right. RadioActive's Lyn Strober-Cohen is one of their students and has the story.
Eyva Winet is Nova High School's new principal, but has been working at Nova for 19 years. Eyva has taught me so many things in my 2 years at Nova. For about a year, I had the joy of participating in Gender Tea, which Eyva co-created with students. They describe it as
a space to just talk about gender with no matter how you identify with your gender, that you could have a deeper conversation about gender, but that we would be centering trans and non-binary voices. And so that's kind of the origin of Gender Tea.
Through Gender Tea, I realized that my voice as a young person was just as valuable as an adult's voice. It was a safe space where teens could share questions or problems, and anyone could respond with experiences or advice. Eyva showed me that I could use my voice for the greater good, and that the same mindset could be used for every young person in the world. I would not understand how true that was until 6 months later. During the aftermath of George Floyd's death, we saw the rise of youth, using their voice to stand up against white supremacy, racism, and other prominent social issues.
We are in very challenging and very exciting times where people are really opening up their minds and really considering deeply the power inequities that exist in our system.
I believe the next place to work on these system inequities is in the classroom. If teachers were to open up their minds and let students have an impact on their own learning, it would move forward how education works, instead of just having this giant power inequity between students and teachers. At Nova High School, students have the opportunity to give advice, pitch in, and even co-lead classes. I've been lucky to be in one of those classes, and the content was fresh, had a modern twist, and still held up as an educational space. As young people, most of us are in classrooms up to 8 hours a day, being lectured and given knowledge by adults, yet we have no say in those curriculums. Eyva thinks that it has to do with power more than anything else.
So I think with adults, like any kind of oppressive group or any sort of disproportionate power dynamic, like adults really have to learn how to listen deeply and be open and willing to have who they are rocked a little bit and changed and affected by the things that they hear and learn from youth.
As we were wrapping up the interview, Eyva said something I will never stop thinking about.
I think every human has something to teach you, and if you're not open to listening, then you're probably missing out on stuff.
This is why we need to start listening, to learn from the past and to listen to the future. If you don't, you missed out on an entire generation of people with a different idea of how the world should be. From RadioActive Youth Media, I'm Lyn Strober-Cohen.